South African rap music has taken an interesting turn in the couple of years, with a new generation of MCs from Pretoria emerging to kind of hoist the flag of the country up high by presenting a formidable combination of lyrical dexterity with commercial appeal. Now, this often for me feels like a continuation of a yearning that the original flock, so to speak, of PTA MCs had in mind. When you look at the Hype Sessions era of the notoriety of Cap City and how it emerged, you look at MCs that are fundamental to the evolution not just of the city, but of South Africa at large. I mean, if I would list the names right now, it would be too long for the insert. So for the purposes of really shortening it, I want to focus on Blaklez as a name, as an artist, and as somebody who's been pretty much a fixture of South African pop culture, lingering in the edges of talking points, whether be it his relationship with that other lady who we shall not mention, to being his own man in the midst of MCs who carried their message front and center in the golden era. Blaklez is definitely one of those rappers that shows us how to remain consistent, because that's the word, consistency. A lot of people say it, but a lot of people don't know what it entails. What I think it entails is tapping in to the parts of yourself that can be as essential to what the moment requires. We're all constantly changing, and we're changing in as much as we allow ourselves to grow, and I think that's what determines the ultimate output of a consistent anything. So here comes Blaklez, 2023, pretty much an OG, pretty much somebody who's responsible for the likes of an A-Reese. I'm just talking on a level of influence of seeing older people or people older than you make their moves in a field that you aspire to dominate one day. He's back, and he's brought us a project that embellishes itself with some of the trends that have become very prominent in South Africa's cultural mold as of late. We are a nation that has been in limbo spiritually for more than a minute. This is part of the dislocation of the way that we found ourselves moving around in the quote-unquote post-apartheid realm, to only realize that many things have gotten worse, while the things that are supposedly better are kind of waving a gold trinket at us, at things that we feel are accessible. This South Africa is characterized by a great confusion that in the past few years has seen itself styled in the nostalgia to come back to our roots. The remembrance that if we are to find ourselves back in a place that feels somewhat integral to our true power, it's going to also involve looking at where we've been and tapping into something deeper than just the present moment of capitalist culture, but maybe something ancestral. And this is what Blaklez feels to be saying to us in his latest project, Loyal to the Soil. Let's go into the review on what that is about, essentially. First and foremost, I want to talk about the terrible album cover. The aesthetics of the times are new African vogue. The patterns of Ndebele art that are famously now in the limelight through Umamo Esther Mahlangu, whether be it the interesting Xhosa zigzagism of Maxhosa Bailatuma, there is an onslaught of the reinvention of African pattern and textile, and I think in an age where we're inspired to dream beyond the format and what's known about how African thought and reality can look like, creating a cartoon version of yourself with a bear on a leash just doesn't really resonate much to the palette and even the scope of what you're trying to do. The actual creation of the art shows me that there wasn't much effort put into it, and there was a real dissonance in terms of conveying what the message of the project is trying to do. But nonetheless, I went into it hoping that it was better than the art, and man, did I get a real satisfaction from that. Really brief, 8 tracks that kind of don't change the pattern of smooth, easygoing rap that Blaklez is known for, which is a niche in and of itself that's hard to conquer, because we're living in an era that tries to pander to youth culture, which is energetic and filled with life and vitality. So kind of being in the bearings and allowing a pace that's more or less gradual to lead your music is an artistic risk that not many are willing to take. But Blaklez seems to really be comfortable in that mold, and not comfortable in the way of not being able to be interested in anything beyond, no, but being able to take what's happening and assimilate it into that world, because it is a world vast enough to be painted with different tones and hues. And he does this with loyal to the soil. I feel like the essential message is, what is the truest part of ourselves? What is the thing about you? What is the thing about him as Blaklez that resoundingly becomes the most consistent thing one can count on throughout the changes? So it's finding, again, this integral part of the self. And he does it through raising issues about personal reflection and also calling out the culture of calling out. Yes, he tackles things like the social media era and how that interlaces with cancel culture and what really counts for discrimination. I mean, he kind of really asked that question of, in a world where we're bound to have differences, how do we still manage to be loud and proud about ourselves without the fear of being put down for that very same thing? How do we speak our own truth with a level of respect and acknowledgement for the differences that exist, but with a very firm foot down on what we believe is a violation of our life in general? And I think he does this in a way full of so much suave and typical Blaklez charisma. And it's this element, it's this ability to be laid back while still sincere that a lot of rappers are not able to do. Blaklez is able to sound cool without that boxing him into this place where the emotional capacity of his voice doesn't go out of this place of swag. He's able to just have that gravel voiced persona bellow out into the tunes in a way that's not pedantic but simple and plain, and talking to you as if you were really just having a simple conversation, with one-liners that are always quaint, with punchlines that are always direct, and a dialogue in general that doesn't make the listener feel compelled to try and go too deep or isolate the listener because the message is too self-referenced, or bore the listener because the message is too concerned with aspirations of ego and other MCs. Les understands how to rap for people, a very broad range of people. He understands that when he comes in front of the mic, his fundamental power is the power to start a conversation. And if you want to start a conversation, one of the most powerful features is accessibility and simplicity. And I think this is his telltale greatness, which really leaks out in all of this project. The one thing that I will say can fail this project at times is that he hasn't found a way to take the verses and weave them into a dynamic structure of songwriting. His hooks are still pretty much lackluster to lukewarm, but it is his ability to put the song together in narrative form which save that at the end of the day. So the sonic scope is pretty minimalistic. It's a car ride to your favorite place. It's reflection in a nutshell. And what that does is that it's definitely a project that's made for focused, honest listening. None of these songs are really catered for anywhere where people are there for the main domain of an escape experience or just pure ecstasy. It's listening in order to grasp context but also be taken into the groove, which I think the production successfully is able to do. It complements Les's voice. It sets a tone and a universe that is really calm yet filled with enough conviction to take the kind of person who appreciates their lyricism with a well-oiled level of song construction. So in a nutshell, what do I give this project? Definitely for me, one of Blaklez's most impressive offerings. I still have to go into the vault to say if this is my favorite, but it could be, because I've never heard Les bring himself to the fore with this level of depth and with this level of relatability. So I'm going to take a minute to kind of let that one simmer and come back to you on it. But what I can say for now is that it's easily beyond average and one of the most interesting projects of this year thus far. So for me, ultimately, it's a 7.5 to a good 8 out of 10. Because what it does is, how do you remain consistent throughout the changes? And how do you take the issues that are happening today and wrap them up in a package that presents where you are in life right now? And that might sound simple coming from my lips, but trust me, a lot of rappers are not able to do that because, like I said, the desperation to try and cater to a younger audience, especially in this era, is driving a whole lot of MCs in a place where they feel foreign sonically, and as a result they isolate their core fan base and are in this place where they can't find themselves back because they're too far gone. So I think what Blaklez teaches us is, don't believe the hype, and the wisdom of knowing your lane means you know when to expand it, you know when to break out of it, you know when it turns into a bridge, you know when it turns into an intersection. The path is ultimately predominantly in your hands. Of course, it's a conversation between you and the external factors of trend and market relatability and technology and development. But ultimately, if you understand who you are and your ethos and your virtues and your style, you determine where that path goes. So shout out to Blaklez for reminding us of this very, very important artistic quality. My name is VJ, the brother from the ancient mother. If you haven't subscribed to the Headspace, I shouldn't even be talking to you. Peace.